Hello, everyone. This is John Hurd with Paintcare. I'm the Vermont and Maine Program Manager. We're going to run through a little bit of information about the Paintcare program and how that worked if you were a drop-off site. So a little background on Paintcare. There's approximately 84 million gallons of paint that is left over from projects every year. In the past, before Paintcare, oil-based paint could go to household hazardous waste programs. Most household hazardous waste programs did not take latex paint. Latex paint is about 80% of the paint that is sold and available out there, so that left a lot of paint that was not being collected. But in 2003, so that's 20 years ago now, leaders in the paint industry working with American Coatings Association and other stakeholders started a dialogue on how to handle all this leftover paint that was ending up costing municipalities a lot of money to collect and handle, and some of it wasn't being handled at all. So as a result, at this point, we have quite a few states signed up to be Paintcare collection sites, including the District of Columbia. We've got Illinois coming on in 2024. We'll add another state. So Paintcare itself is a nonprofit that was created in 2009. It's governed by a board of architectural coatings manufacturers, and Vermont State Agency of Natural Resources reviews and approves our program plan and keeps an eye on us to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do. So Paintcare is a 3 R's program, a reduce, reuse, recycle. We put a lot of outreach into reduce and reuse, and a lot of the money and shipping and so forth comes with collecting and recycling end of it. Paintcare is funded by a fee on every gallon of paint sold in Paintcare states. This covers the full cost of the program, so there's no cost to collection sites for anything from pickup to recycling to outreach materials is all covered by this fee. We can sign up pretty much anybody who has a proper facility and wants to be a drop-off site. We work with household hazardous waste collection sites. We work with paint and hardware retailers. We work with recycling centers and transfer stations. Once the paint is collected, small amount gets reused or donated. About 80% of what we collect is latex paint, and around 80% of that is usually recyclable, meaning that it's still liquid enough and not too badly separated and so forth that it can be remixed and returned back as paint. Some small amount gets turned into landscaping materials. Some is blended with cement or asphalt. A lot of the oil base is burned as fuel in a cement kiln. And some of the just nasty dried out chunks in the bottom of the cans are going to end up just landfilled because there isn't a better use for them at this point. So as a Paintcare site, you would get an operations binder, which contains training very similar to what we're looking at today. You get paint storage bins, which are either indoor cardboard bins with a liner or outdoor bins that are a hard plastic bin with a lid. Labeling for those bins, very important. It says used paint or waste paint and the date that the paint was started to be put in the box. We provide a spill kit. We provide store or site signage. We also have all kinds of consumer education materials like posters and window clings and counter mats and brochures. So as a drop-off site, basically, people are going to bring in cans of paint. The staff has to scan that, make sure that it is paint or that the can says that it was sold with paint in it at one point, and put it in the box. And displaying signage to identify your site and having the spacing and staffing in the secure storage area. Very important that only Paintcare products end up in the box and that those shipments are scheduled at a good time spacing so that you don't end up with overflowing boxes and have to turn people away, and that staff is trained so they know how and what to take and that you're reviewing and following all guidelines. This is part of what we're going over today. So the Paintcare bins are either a cardboard bin or a hard plastic bin. To make sure that those are in good shape and have the labels attached. They need to be on an impervious surface, so if there's a leak or a spill, it doesn't soak into the soil. The date when the first can is placed in the bin is very important. And it's good to pack 5-gallon buckets on the bottom so everything's stable. Some of the things not to do with a Paintcare bin. It's not a self-serve program. Public cannot have access to the bin. They should not be putting paint in or taking paint out. Once the paint is in the box, it shouldn't come back out of the box. It's now in Paintcare product. Don't allow those bins to become disorganized. Don't overfill. Do not toss or throw paint cans into the bin because that would be a good way to make a terrible mess. This is just some good and bad examples of Paintcare storage. Here's the hard plastic bins on the upper left there as an example of some outdoor storage built for a retail site. believe that's in California with Miller Paint. And then some things not to do. Totally mislabeled cans and misstacked and everything crooked. And the paint cans stacked up by the back door on the outside, that is a great way to get all your paint cans run over and make a terrible mess. If those cans are in the box, nice and safely packed away, they would be out of harm's way. But what does Paintcare accept and what can we not accept? So basically we take architectural coatings. So it would be almost anything that goes on or in a building that is not a tar-based like roof coating. So we take all of the interior and exterior architectural paints, latex, acrylic, water-based, alkyd, oil-based, enamels. We take all your deck coatings and floor paints, take all the primers, sealers, and undercoaters, take all stains, water-based, oil-based, take the clear coats like shellac, lacquer, varnish, and polyurethanes. And we take waterproofers and concrete, masonry, and wood sealers and water repellents. We take metal coatings, rust preventative, or rust fighting paints that are not in a spray can. And just to be a little bit different, we take field and lawn paint. So leftover paint from, say, striping the football field, they got left in the shed all winter and is no good, we can take that. Moving on to the non-paint care products, the ones that people are going to try to recycle with their paint because they're on the same shelf, the paint thinners, mineral spirits, solvents, aerosol paints, we can't take at this point, auto and marine paints. So basically all of these things are not architectural coatings. That's why we cannot take them, even though they are very closely paint related. We don't take arts and crafts paints. We don't take caulking compounds, epoxies, glues, and other adhesives. Some of these come in cans that look very much like paint cans. It's something to keep an eye out for. We can't take the additives, colorants, tints. A lot of stores end up with leftover tint. We can't take the straight tint. We don't take wood preservatives containing pesticides. So these are mostly older products like creosotes and so forth that are poisonous. So basically poisoning the wood so that something that tries to eat or rot the wood is not going to be able to versus coating the wood to protect it. We can't take roof patch. We can't take other asphalt, tar, and bitumen-based products. No two-component coatings, no epoxies, like say garage floor paints are often two-component epoxies. We can't take those. Don't take deck cleaners. We don't take traffic and road marking paint. Again, it's not an architectural paint. The road is not a structure. We can't take industrial maintenance coatings, and these are specialty coatings for special applications, and they're not part of the program. Original equipment manufacturer paints. So this would be like touch-up paint for your John Deere tractor or something along those lines. Again, most of that's not architectural. You can't take those. And shop applied paints and finishes. So if somebody has a factory that's making anything from birdhouses to fences to modular homes, and they're using paint in their process to make their product, those paints are not assessed the fee and they cannot come back into our program. So if non-paint care products end up in your bin, and this does happen, but we run about 2% contamination out of our program, and that's really quite good. Basically, so this is going to a hazardous waste hauler, so they know how to handle it. So it's not a problem. It's not going to be returned to you. It will be managed properly. If it's a problem, if a site has a constant stream of non-appropriate products, then you will have to be retrained and we'll try to figure out why and where those products are coming from and keep them out of the box. So paint can size and conditions. This is important. People are going to bring in paint cans and they need to be a paint can, a container that was sold with paint in it at some point in its life. So 5 gallons or less, original container with some remnant of an original label that can be read so you can tell it had paint in it, sealed and not leaking to try and reduce messes. Empty cans can go in trash or recycling, depending on what they're made out of. Cans with dry latex paint are fine in the program. And this says never open the containers. And there is one caveat to that. If you're running a reuse program where you're giving paint back out to the public and you want to pop the can just to make sure that what you're giving away is paint and actually looks decent, that's might be a time to open a container. So non-paint care products should go to household hazardous waste collections, especially in Vermont. That the state is very well covered and there should be household hazardous waste disposal available to everyone. We have a site locator on our website where people can type in their town or their zip code and it'll pop up all of the local sites give them some information about what kind of a site it is, if there's any limitations. Like, for example, many recycling centers, transfer stations only serve a certain towns, so that there would be limitations on that. And very important, most of these sites only take 5 gallons per customer per day. That's to keep the sites from getting overloaded and overwhelmed with excessive amounts of paint. If somebody has an excessive amount of paint, we have a large volume pickup program. The easiest way to do this is to go to our website, which is paintcare.org. There's a form on there that can be filled out, and it comes straight through. In Vermont and Maine, it would come straight to me. Then I send it on to Clean Harbors, and they would come and pick up all your paint. Since this is a universal waste program, we are handling universal and hazardous wastes. There is definitely needs to be some spill training. That's just a quick overview of what to do if there's paint on the ground. Reuse. So a program that wants to give paint back out to their people, and mostly transfer stations, recycling centers, would be interested in this, can take perfectly good, mostly full cans of paint and put them out in a reuse area and give those away for reuse. There is a form that the person receiving it needs to fill out to absolve both Paintcare and the site of any liability. Reuse is also the only part of our program that we will reimburse. So Paintcare will pay your program about $1.60 a gallon for paint that is given back out for reuse and reported to us. That actually saves us quite a bit of money over shipping it around the countryside to get recycled, and it's a higher and better use for that paint to get it back locally reused the way it was supposed to be. Some quick frequently asked questions. Paintcare bins are kind of a small pallet for the indoor bins and a larger pallet on the outdoor bins. So they'll hold 125 to 150 odd gallons of paint. Any collection site needs to take any brand of paint, whether it's sold from their store or not. Contractors definitely can use the program. The large volume pickup program is there to help if they have way too much paint to bring back into a local store. Store waste or town waste or facility waste can go into with Paintcare bins as long as it's appropriate Paintcare materials. Can't charge a fee to consumers to drop off Paintcare products. This whole thing is paid for by the upfront fee, so people who bought paint have already paid for the program, so they can't be recharged for a second time. And if your site needs brochures, signs, posters, anything like that, contact me or go to our website, paintcare.org. There's multiple videos and other interesting and educational things on there, as well as ways to order brochures. And there's also interest forms on the website if you're interested in going there, filling out the information that we would need to help you become a drop-off site. That's my contact information. Feel free to reach out anytime with questions, comments, interest, and I will do my best to help you with any paint care related questions. Thank you.